Hi, my name is Rudolph Stewart, and I'm the founder of Outside Accounting, a virtual accounting firm. Today I want to talk about accounting and when you set up a business, how you should think about handling your accounting function. Should you do it yourself? Should you hire someone internally to do it? Or should you outsource it to somebody else? As the owner of an accounting firm, obviously I'm going to recommend that you should outsource it to someone, but not so fast. I don't think that's always the best choice in the beginning. I think that when you actually start a business, if you can, you should try and do the accounting yourself. When you're writing a business plan and planning to start a business, you have to make a lot of assumptions. And it's not until you really start running the business and seeing how things happen on a day-to-day basis before you really understand how it operates. And I think for that reason, doing the accounting yourself, just seeing all the steps and the processes and just kind of the challenges in how it works would be really beneficial. And then later on, if you decide to outsource it or bring in someone, you'll really benefit from having done some of those steps yourself, because as they're explaining challenges or things that they're wanting to do or change, you'll be able to relate to it much better than if you had outsourced it from the beginning and you had no idea exactly what it entails. When thinking about how you're going to organize your finance systems or your accounting processes, I would think about it from the end and kind of work my way forward. So the last process usually is filing your tax returns. So I would start there and kind of work my way backwards in thinking about what the requirements are that I'm going to have. So obviously, like I just said, you have to file your tax returns. In order to file tax returns, you need to prepare financial statements. In order to prepare financial statements, you'll either have to do them yourself or hire someone to do them. Also, in order to prepare the financial statements, you're going to need some sort of accounting system. And even before you get into the accounting system, you need to think through sort of what information do you want out of your accounting systems? What type of activities do you want to track, and what level of detail do you want? The purpose of thinking through those steps that we just discussed regarding the different steps leading up to filing your tax return is to understand what your requirements are. Other requirements could also be for other owners of the business or banks. Anyone that has an interest in how the business is going, you need to also think what information do they need so that you can incorporate that into your process. Once you've got an idea about what your requirements are, you need to think about frequency. There'll be some things like filing your tax return that you only need to do on a monthly basis. There could be certain types of maybe sales tax returns or payroll returns or different items that maybe you have to do on a quarterly basis. Then there might be some things that you need to do on a monthly basis, like prepare your monthly financials. And there are things you might want to do on a weekly basis, like prepare your cash forecast or follow up with suppliers, or not suppliers, but with customers who haven't paid you. Maybe you want to follow that up on a weekly basis, or maybe there's certain things you want to do on a daily basis, like enter your sales from the day before. So depending on how your business is structured, you'll have different things that you need to do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. And you want to have an idea about those things as you're structuring and thinking about how to organize your systems, because based on that can also influence how you actually do your accounting. Will you have time to do things that need to be done on a daily basis? Maybe that should be outsourced. Do you have time to do things that need to be done on a monthly basis? Maybe again, that might be something you want to outsource. So just have a think about all those different items and how often you need to do them. That'll help you decide, what you want to take on yourself and what you want to offload onto someone else. Whatever you decide to do, I think you should start off by finding an accountant. It may be the same person that does your taxes, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the same person that does your taxes. When I started off my career, I worked at a specialist tax firm. We did primarily taxes, and what happened is we ended up getting financial statements that were already prepared. I actually didn't have to prepare them. And so back at that point, as a tax accountant, I wouldn't be able to give a lot of good advice on how to run the accounting function for a company because I just didn't have that experience. So depending on who your tax person is, maybe you work with that person or maybe you work with someone else. But you want to work with an accountant to just kind of talk through your processes. This is what I want to do on a daily basis. This is what I want to do on a weekly basis, and have them help you like structure your processes and make sure that, they've helped you set up your accounts and your accounting process in such a way that it'll be efficient and effective and will not give you any surprises when it comes to the time to prepare your taxes at the end of the year. For example, let's say you've been very diligent about capturing all of your auto expenses, but when it's time to do your tax return, it turns out that you actually never captured your mileage. So you want to talk with someone, even if you're going to do it yourself, to just explain, this is what I'm thinking about, this is what I want to do, and get another person get a professional to give you some advice and say, don't forget about this, don't forget about that. Or even if they just say, yeah, that sounds great, it's well worth paying for the consultation just to make sure you don't have any surprises later on down the road. Now, let's say you've come to the point where you've decided, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do the accounting myself, either because you have done it and now your business has grown to a point where you don't have the time to do it, or it's just not your strong suit, and as much as you'd like to do it, it's just not something in your wheelhouse and you're just not going to do it. That's fine. So now the issue is, do you want to have what I call an internal or external accountant? An internal person is someone that sits on payroll, and this is someone who works exclusively for you, or maybe not exclusively, but they're on your payroll and they're using your systems. They're doing more or less your bidding. You're instructing them what you want done, and they may or may not be a full-time employee. An external accountant, I would say, is someone that works for an accounting firm or has their own firm, and they kind of come in and they work on other clients as well, and they kind of come in and they can do the same thing the internal person does and look after all of your accounting needs. What's the difference between an internal and external accountant? In the end, they're both doing the same function, but I would say an internal person is working more under your direction and kind of following the policies, procedures that you want. And so you can really get that tailored to doing things the way that you would like to have things done. In the case of an external, it's not that they necessarily can't do things the way that you want them done, but because they have a firm, they will have their own processes and procedures about how they do things. So an example of that is, for example, accounting firms will have accounting software that they support. So if you want to use a software that they don't support, then they're probably not going to accept you as a client, because for them it is too much overhead, headache to try and learn a new program, when oftentimes maybe they only work with one program or two programs, and it's kind of a take it or leave it type scenario. So you may have to compromise on certain things if you go with an external company. Now, I think that there are some benefits for going with an external company because they're working with multiple companies, and especially if they come from, your industry, they will know kind of what the best practice is, what are people using, what have people tried, what's not as good. And so while they might be less flexible, they probably have a good reason why they're recommending a certain solution over a solution that you may want. So I think that, even if they don't want to do things exactly the way that you wish, there could be some benefit in going with what they're suggesting. Cost-wise, I would assume it would be more expensive for you to go with an external firm than having your own internal person. And I say cost-wise, I would say on a per hour basis. But with an external firm, I would expect that they are probably more efficient because they're doing the same thing with many different firms and kind of have worked out the best and most efficient way to do things. So even though, on an hourly basis, if you look at what they're doing, it's probably more expensive. But I think from an output and quality, I think you would probably get a better product, and it would probably save you some headaches down the road. But that's just my thought. So what's my recommendation? Well, as I said in the beginning, I would try to do things myself if I were you in the beginning. Even if you're only doing it yourself for 3 to 6 months, that's valuable experience. And then if you want to go ahead and then outsource it after that, I think that's pretty good. Step 2, I would probably say, is I would probably first start with an external firm and let them run the accounting. They will kind of develop the processes and procedures that you use, and I would expect those to be best practice and well developed and really a good place to start. If it then grows to the point where you feel like you want to hire your own internal person, they can then adopt these policies and procedures that had been created for your business by your expert external accountant, and then you kind of know that that person is starting off with good procedures to begin with, and then maybe over time they can change things based on how your business is developing, but that's how I would recommend it. Now, from my own perspective, I would say you could even as your business grows, you can still continue to use an external firm, but if you feel you want to have a bit more direct control of someone sitting next to you at your desk, then at that point, you could bring in someone external. So that's my advice on how to manage your accounting function as a new or growing business. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are there any other feedback you have for me? Have you tried these different, this lifeline of starting off doing it yourself, transitioning externally, and then hiring someone? How did that go for you? Would you do it differently if you tried it a second time, or if you were setting up a new business? Thanks for watching this video. If you've made it all the way to the end, special thank you for that. This is Rudolph Stewart. I'm the owner and founder of Outside Accounting, a virtual accounting firm. If you have any accounting needs or any questions, please feel free to drop me a note or have a look at my website, www.outsideaccounting.com. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.